107.5 WGCI, the Shine's #1 for hip hop and R&B. And Kendra G, always keeping up mess.
Yeah.
You got somebody here with us today who's going to talk about the mess that you be keeping up.
Well, listen, he has a very popular podcast called Hollywood Unlocked that now is in a radio show that's right here on WGCI Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
Also, people know him from Love and Hip Hop, Wildin' Out, the one and only starter, Jason Lee's in the building.
It's too early in the morning. There's a lot of energy in here. I still sleep.
It's the cocaine.
Yeah. This is what we do. Okay, so Jason, first let's talk about congratulations to you because now you're a part of the WGCI family.
Yeah, super excited. First of all, Chicago, I haven't been here in a long time, but Z451 is one of my favorite restaurants.
Okay.
Off the chain.
But I love Chicago.
So talk about Leon. You said you wanted to know.
Yeah,
He doesn't know too much about Jason.
Sure.
So you coming in, doing what you do, a young and aspiring blogger or vlogger, how did you go from just doing a simple vlog or blog, I assume, to now being heard across the country, nationwide on iHeartMedia? What was the process for you?
So, well, first of all, iHeart has been a blessing that I didn't even see coming because it wasn't a part of my plan.
Okay.
What was a part of my plan when I got into it, I mean, to know me personally, anything that I want to do, I want to be the best at it, or I want to have the most impact. So when I decided to get into digital media, I was looking at all the different ways I can grow my brand, but more importantly, all the different partnerships that I could build to help elevate, the awareness of what we do, because, I like meeting people that don't know much about me because that means I have to keep working,
Right.
And so when I started it, I got on Love and Hip Hop as a springboard to really get it out there. And my first season was launching the brand, and then I came back for a second season, and then when I kind of felt like I was pigeonholed into one perception of just being the guy that shows up and blows up everybody's spot, which isn't all who I am. So that's why I interviewed Nick Cannon, was like, yo, just give me a shot. I want to do Wildin' Out. And I'm not a comedian, but I know how to talk shit. I'm funny. And I know everybody's business. So I thought, well, this could work, just go up there and be me. And I got on Wildin' Out, so I'm going into my 5th season there. But then with iHeart, I launched the podcast Hollywood Unlocked Uncensored, got Melissa Ford on there, and then went through a couple co-host changes. But I really did it because I wanted to have a space that I controlled, where nobody can edit it, where everybody could see me for who I was. And we just started bringing on friends of ours, and people that we knew. And then it just kind of just grew into this thing where iHeart came out of nowhere and offered us a pretty good deal.
Shout out to Melissa Ford.
Shout out to the lovely Melissa Ford.
What are some of the big
Better with age.
Oh, God. She is a beautiful woman.
Yes, she is.
What are some of the biggest stories you broke in the gossip space?
Well, we interviewed Matt Barnes. I think he was like our 3rd guest on the podcast about his fight with Derek Fisher. I didn't know that it was his first time talking about it, but that went viral. So
everywhere.
I got a call from Floyd Mayweather. He was like, "Why are you going viral?" I thought he was talking about an STD. I'm like, hold on. So we went viral with that, and then we broke. I interviewed Khalees about the relationship with Nas, where she said he used to beat her. And I didn't even know that she was going to say all that. I just happened to, I was actually on my way to Vegas. And she said, no, you got to come by the house and talk to me about something. And I went over there, got that. And then the Jordan Woods and Tristan Thompson story.
How does that make you feel? Even though you're a human being, I understand that's your job. So say right there when you said that you didn't know Khalees was going to say Nas put hands on her like a hip-hop legend. How do you feel on the inside? You like, okay, this is good. I'm getting the juicy information. But this is also sad and tragic. I'm learning that somebody that I might look and respect is a woman beater.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy. One, I don't look at these people of course I know Nas is a legend and I love Nas and I love his music, but I wasn't in that moment thinking of him as a superstar. I was thinking of a woman who was telling a very personal story. So I was in the story, listening to it, not going, ooh, because I never really get, I don't know why I just don't get those identifiers of, ooh, this is a big, juicy story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really in the moment. And then we filmed the interview, and then when I left, I was just in the car wow, that was deep, still in the story. We go to the Dominican Republic, literally as we are taking off, we're pushing publish, and when I land, it's just the internet is blown up, and then I'm realizing how big the story was,
Right.
But I don't really try to think about the people too much, because then I'll start to play in my head, should I do it, should I not do it, and at the end of the day, I think everybody's story deserves to be told.
Get gun shy. Huh?
Listen, all right.
Yeah.
So Leon has to leave in a little bit, but I do want to start off with this conversation because I want him to talk about his thoughts on the Afro-Latino part.
Mm-hmm.
So Jason and I never met. We met yesterday for the first time, but last week we were both very passionate about the episode of Basketball Wives and on different viewpoints. So I made my viewpoint that I got a lot of response from, and then I think it was the next day or 2 days later, Jason had a viewpoint, and not necessarily did you know my viewpoint at the time? I don't think he even saw my post.
At the time I didn't.
Yeah, he didn't know my post. So
I've done my research.
Right, but when he did his post, one of my friends texted me and said, Kendra, I need you to go on Jason Lee's page and drag him. Mm-hmm. People are now tagging me in the post, say, Kendra, can you please give him give him a reading? So as God would have it, I knew he was going to be on the show today so we could have the conversation because it's deeper than an Instagram back and forth comment.
Yes.
So basketball-wise, if you watched last episode, I was very vocal that I was very upset. I do definitely feel as though we saw colorism live on television, and I didn't like the fact that Evelyn called OG ugly. Because Leon has to go, I want to start off with the Afro-Latino part because...
And then get back to the part that she is ugly.
No, but she's not ugly.
She's a very hard face.
No, let me tell you something.
She's a very hard face.
Okay, you said you're African American, right?
I'm Black, Italian, and Greek.
Okay,
I definitely claim all three of my cultures, but I identify as a Black man.
Well, let me start right there. The reason why I don't like the comment of OG being ugly is because when I look at OG, I see women in Nigeria. I see women that come from Africa, and we're going to talk about this too, whose bloodline hasn't been diluted with other races. So therefore, if you're African, how can you look at another woman that you're saying you came from, that's your ethnicity, and call it ugly?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so there have actually been, and I know a lot of Nigerians. I know I just met the president of Ghana, and I know a lot of different people from that continent. I called it a country on my Instagram because I was so into what I was saying, but I got that wrong. Just like I think some people do get social media wrong. You only have so much time to say what you think. And but anyway, I've had a lot of Nigerians come to my page and say, I agree, she's not the prettiest person in the world. I don't think it's necessarily, I don't think it's fair to attribute somebody saying somebody unattractive to saying that the whole continent of Africa and Africans are ugly people. I know a lot of beautiful Africans. But I do look at her and I do say, whether it's her with the blonde hair or her, maybe her exaggerated eyebrows, I don't really know. I could go on and on to say.
No, but listen.
Wait. My point is, I don't think she's attractive. Now, that's not because she's African. It's just because I don't think she's attractive.
So my question is,
I get that.
Okay, but you got to explain to me what's not attractive, because when I see OG, I see a person that has a bigger feature, big lips, a higher cheekbone, things that this country people pay for that aren't African. So you got to explain to me why she's ugly, because there's young Black girls that may look like OG and may see that, say, oh, this is what ugly is. That's not fair.
Well, I think the difficult problem is, especially in this country, because we have such a long history of race issues in our country, right? Once you say there's young Black girls who are looking at OG and saying I may look like her and may feel a certain way, once you say there's young Black girls, it turns everybody's ears to the issue of race, because you just say young Black girls. Let's just say if there are young girls who look like her, then they're probably going to grow up to be ugly too. But I don't think that it's a Black thing that, if she was white, if she was Latina, if she was polka dot, if she was a rainbow bright looking, whatever she was, if she had Tekashi hair, at the end of the day, it's not about her being Black that I think. I mean, at least I can only speak for myself. I don't defend Evelyn Lozada. Evelyn Lozada is not. She's not a friend of mine. I don't work for her. She's not paying me. It's just I don't think that. I think that she has a hard face, but that isn't because she's African, and that is not because she's Black. I think the problem that's happening online is that because you have an opinion about somebody. Let's back up.
And I have to.
Because I've done a lot of research.
But can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
You're disconnected because it is because she's Black. Because
I don't think so.
She's she's a Black woman. Hold on, but real quick, she's a Black woman, so you cannot say nothing has to do with her being Black. That's being disconnected.
I think the problem.
Hold on, I'm not done. But no, when you were talking, I sat and listened.
Sure.
You cannot talk about OG and say this is not because she's Black. That's who she is. So you know how many Black women? I'm a dark-skinned Black woman. I have heard all my life, you're pretty to be a dark-skinned girl. that statement implies that most dark-skinned women are not attractive. I'm an exception to the rule. When you say to
That's
a dark,
not true.
But what does that mean?
I think you're in your head. I think you're in your head with your own story. I think you've created. Hold on.
What does it mean if you say to a dark? No.
I think what you've done is you've allowed your followers on Instagram
to
encourage you to try to drag somebody who could never be drugged.
Well, first of all, I'm not trying to drag you. I'm asking you a question.
Let's have a real conversation.
We're having a real conversation.
No, because you've personalized this, and you've attached yourself.
I'm a black woman. I'm going to personalize
Right, but you've attached yourself to the conversation as if this is between you and Evelyn.
Jason and Kendra, hold on 1 second. Let me jump in 1 second as a person that's standing on the outside listening to this, and I understand what you're saying, but I understand what you're saying as a man. So now I'm gonna put it for example like this. OG, that's her name? Okay, I'm not familiar with her, but I am. You know, I have an affection. Tika Sumpter. I think she's a beautiful dark-skinned woman. I think my girl that played in the scary movie, my girl that played in Black Panther. You know, I love her too.
Lupita
Nyong'o. I love her. I love the way she looks. I drop heaven and earth to get up with her. Right now, I take them two. And I compare them to, and this is no disrespect because this is a legend, somebody I idolize as far as being funny, Whoopi Goldberg. Now, I'm not saying dark-skinned women are ugly. I just personally don't think Whoopi Goldberg is attractive. I don't.
She is a pretty spirit.
And, you know, and once again, great person, but I don't think she's attractive. And remember how we used to tease our producer Sam because he thinks Whoopi Goldberg is attractive. So it's a personal preference. As far as what I'm saying, I understand what you're saying. I think as far as that show goes, it seems like everybody's taking Evelyn's side because she's light-skinned or whatever, and it feels like they're ostracizing OG because of her complexion or when he says she has a hard face. Two things can be true. She might have a hard face and not be attractive to him, but there's some dude out there right now that'll sell his soul to be with
his
OG.
Entire world. And
so
I think
that's what I think I'm getting from both of them. But I
think that's a fair assessment. I think what's important too is that, like, you know, the volume on the whole issue of colorism and racism that are real issues that black people, both light-skinned and darker-skinned people, do experience. I have dark-skinned sisters and brothers. I have light-skinned sisters and brothers, and we all have different experiences when it comes to race. But I would say that exactly the way you characterize it is right. I know Tika personally. I think she's extremely beautiful. And there are a lot of dark-skinned women who are beautiful. There are a lot of light-skinned women that are beautiful. I think the thing that's the most beautiful about our culture is that there are so many beautiful people within the spectrum of being black. And, you know, I've gotten a lot of criticism for being not black enough. Don't speak on black issues because you're not black. Don't say because you're not black, you Latino. And I'm extremely proud to be black. Behind the scenes, I do a lot of work. Led the Trayvon Martin campaign. I've been very active. And in fact, when I worked in education before entertainment, part of my leadership in leading the Black Student Union was that we had to integrate other cultures because having conversations about being black with black people is one thing, but making sure that white people get our experience and go out and share the conversation in their communities is equally important, if not more important, because they have to get where our history comes from. Going back to what you were saying as far as OG goes. Wait, because I really feel like, you know, I think the thing that's important is that, you know, my opinion, as well as all of our opinions, should you know, be able to be clearly communicated. I'm not going to ever change my opinion on what I find attractive based on what people on social media say or what anybody else say. I just don't think she's attractive. But moving right along, I don't even know her enough to spend this much time on her. And nor would I ever.
But what about her is ugly?
I mean, it's like if I pull up a picture of what my last ex and the ex before that, you may say, I see why this person's attractive. I see why that person's attractive, because personal attraction lives within each person.
But this is why.
But wait, I don't think it's fair to try to force somebody to to say that or to agree that the reason why they think the person is unattractive is because they're black. You're feeding into that stereotype, and you're feeding into that narrative, and that's not fair.
I'm not, Jason, because I'm clearly
asking you. I think you are. It's like race baiting. It really is.
It's not race bait. I'm clearly asking you why she is ugly.
I mean, I could look at somebody you date and ask you why you find them attractive. You just find them attractive.
No, but that's not what we're talking about.
I think you're looking for
I'm not looking for nothing. I want you to answer. No, it does exist.
I think so.
Because if you're telling me that this person is ugly and you said it in the beginning of our interview so easily.
No, I didn't.
No, I get what he's saying.
And Yes, you can have.
preference.
Listen,
Right.
you can have a personal preference, but everyone's telling me it's not about her skin tone, and that's fine. That's clear. But now I'm asking you, when you see her, you have to explain to me.
I don't have to. I don't owe you an explanation of why I find somebody unattractive. I don't owe
When you
anybody.
say,
Wait.
You
I
said
don't
you want
owe
to
you.
understand how women
Wait,
feel.
wait.
Hold on. You said you want to understand why women
I
feel.
didn't say that. I
You
did not say
in
that.
the post that you had on Instagram.
Wait, I did
you
not.
Said,
I did not say that.
you said I
No.
could be wrong in my feelings.
No, I did not.
I
No,
just
did-
look
wait.
at it. I just
No.
look at it as
No, I did
don't
not.
like liver. I've never liked liver.
I don't
I
like
don't
liver.
care how you fix it, how you
No,
say
When you
it.
win,
no,
it's
go
not
for
about
it. We
that.
didn't talk about liver.
But no,
Here's the
but
thing.
this is what I'm saying.
Hold
I'm
on,
going
real
Kendra.
quick.
Let me
As
finish.
the only
Kendra,
black
let me
woman-
finish.
No, because
I'm not
I
dissing
said-
black women and you in your feelings right now. I'm
Of course.
talking. I'm on the outside looking in. I'm telling you, I get what you're saying, but I also understand what he's saying. At the end of the day, it's a personal preference. If I don't think, I don't think Tracy Ellis Ross is finer than Beyonce. They're both light-skinned. That don't mean I think all light-skinned women are terrible. I had a bad experience with light-skinned women, so I'll never date one again, but some people might say I'm wrong about that. At the end of the day, it's just a personal preference. I don't think it's saying OG is ugly because she's a dark-skinned girl.
I don't think, but okay, that's fine. We could get off of that. So I'm asking sincerely from the explanation of what makes her ugly. Like, that's what I'm asking.
And I gave you an answer. Whether
didn't give me one. What was the
I know
answer?
I did. I
What
gave.
was the answer?
Wait, you're not listening.
I am listening.
Wait,
What was
you
the answer?
represent the women online who refuse to listen.
No, I'm asking you a question. You're not
represent.
answering the
You
question,
represent
Jason.
people.
I clearly
Wait,
asked
you
you
represent.
several times.
You represent
I clearly
the
asked you
Instagram.
several different times.
I'm
No,
trying to
baby, I
answer.
represent-
You don't want to hear.
Okay, no, I'm
Y'all
asking
asked
you
me
a
up here
question.
for an interview to talk, but not talk. That's the problem. The problem is that people, especially first of all, we're at a level where people look to us for our opinions
advice,
and they
yeah.
look to us for information.
Exactly.
We now are the people on Instagram. We now have become the people on Instagram yelling the loudest they can their perspective instead of listening. Let me say it one more time because I did it in 6.8 minutes on my Instagram.
Okay, say it again.
1, she has a hard face. I don't care how you spin it. I don't care what question you ask me. You can ask me 50,000 questions. I will spend the next hour answering those 50 questions the same way. My opinion about her hard face will not change. It has nothing to do with her color. It has nothing to do with her race. I think Nigerians are beautiful. I think they're scammers like people from the Bay like me. We're all scammers, whatever. And that's a joke that me and my Nigerian friends said to each other. But we have a love and respect for each other. And it's not about her being dark-skinned. It's not about her being a Nigerian. It ain't none about that. It's just I said she had a hard face, so I gave you that. But in the 6.8 minutes on my Instagram, what I said was, as people of color, we have to stop throwing up race and colorism for every single conversation because it doesn't always apply. Because then when it does apply, people are turned
boy
out.
Okay, well, now, okay,
Yeah,
wait, okay. so
that,
let me-
that was my point.
Okay, and I
That
got
was my
that. We're
point.
gonna move on because there's several more points we have to get to. But one
Sure.
thing I want to go back to when I said, when I as a black woman here, you're beautiful you're beautiful for a dark skinned woman.
That's wrong.
That is wrong, but
Absolutely.
that statement does imply I'm an exception.
When somebody says to you, you're beautiful as for being a dark-skinned girl, I think that is the dumbest anybody could ever say.
Exactly.
Because, again, being beautiful and being black comes in many shades. I have a friend named Sean Ross who I may not find attractive as a model, but the modeling industry does. He's albino, he's black, but he has very white skin and blonde hair. Somebody finds that attractive. But if I have an opinion that that's not attractive, it isn't because he's albino or because he's fair white skin.
Well, what about the young lady that has the skin
Winnie
disorder?
Harlow.
She
She's
is
a-
gorgeous to me. Like, I'll walk with her hand in hand somewhere. But some people might look like, man, she look like a Palomino horse. I ain't trying to date her, homie. Like, not to
Okay.
me, though.
Winnie is a friend of mine.
Yeah.
She's extremely beautiful. I post her on our page on Hollywood Unlocked, and people say she's a Dalmatian, she's this, she's that. And it's typically black people. And that's the problem that I was addressing online. I have family, siblings who are completely dark because our father slept around. Then there are some that are Mexican and black. Then I have a brother who's full Mexican and Italian because my mother had a different man. So my siblings were all different races, but we never grew up looking at each other like, you're dark, you're light, you're Mexican, like we didn't take a roll call of who was what. We literally loved each other for being who we are. So when I look at Mexican kids in the cages at the border in California, or I look at the way that Muslims in our country are treated like terrorists, or how we fight within ourselves in this race baiting that we do of baiting light skin versus dark skin and white people. The craziest part about it is that our cultures have a lot of similarities. So part of what I was saying in that 6-minute and 8-second post on my Instagram was that we all have to become more empathetic and appreciative of each other's cultures and where we come from, because you as a darker skinned woman, me as a lighter skinned man, when white people see us, they don't say he light skinned, she dark. They say he's black, she black, they. In my opinion, that's what I think.
Okay, listen, and I received that, but what I have to say is Evelyn began that separation when she looked at OG and called her ugly, because whether you want to receive it or not, there are women like myself that saw when we were younger in high school or middle school the Puerto Rican girl who thought she was better than black girls because her hair was longer and she got a shape too, but she got lighter skin and her features are more soft because you said OG's face is hard, so their features are more soft.
You have softer features.
Exactly. My bloodline's been diluted. I have a lot of things within my bloodline, so that's probably why my features are soft. But when I see OG, I see the people that I come from, and I will never in life be able to look at that and call that ugly, because if it wasn't for the things of my mother being half black, half white, who knows if my skin tone, I could be just as hard in the face as her. So what I'm saying, as an African American person, we have to accept the fact we all come from that, but because our bloodline has been diluted with other races, maybe that's why our face isn't as soft. Maybe that is why our skin might be a little lighter. Maybe that's why somebody's hair might be a little longer. But we can't look at where we come from and call it ugly.
But you know what, though? Maybe that, what you're saying, I 100% agree, but let's be honest. We, as a black people, don't all know where we come from. We assume we come from Africa. You could be from the Caribbean, the islands. You could be from Dominica, whatever. You know, the slave ship stopped everywhere.
Yeah.
So that I get what you're saying. So, like, sometimes we just can't assume that I'm from the motherland. I wish I could go back and find out where I'm from.
But we all agree that we come from African descent.
Wait, can I say something?
Yes.
There's a couple things. I want to get this out, and I'm sorry. I hope I ain't pissing people off, but I'm going to say this. You know, when I look at,
say it.
There's a natural hair community online where people talk about having natural hair.
Right.
They ain't got long lace fronts or wigs or this and that, and there's a lot of women that don't feel beautiful without their wig or their lace front. Whereas I could look at him and say, like Melissa Ford, when she comes in, sometimes she has braids, sometimes she has...
Shout out to Melissa Ford.
Sometimes she has a wig on, sometimes she has her natural hair. And she gets the most love from women online when she has her natural hair, but she gets the most hate from men when she has her natural hair. And I'm looking at it like, is that really a topic? Does that really change how proud a woman is based on how she wears her hair? No. But I think each woman has the right to wear their hair the way they want. That's the first thing. The second thing about diluting, because you said that a couple times on your Instagram, and I think you have to be really careful when you say that. You don't have to. You do what you want. But, you know, purists and people, white people who don't believe in mixing white blood with black blood sound very racist when they talk about diluting the white race with other cultures because they want to keep that pure white blood in our country. I think part of what Donald Trump's orange ass is doing is really good at trying to do an ethnic and racial cleansing in our country right now by separating white people as the pure national race in this country and everybody else. So when black people say, and when you say, you know, diluting blood or diluting our race, being 100% black or being 100% African or me being 50% black does not make me less black in my mind. Does not make me less black in the eyes of white people. And where we get caught up and where we get baited into the bullshit is when we start believing that dilution of our race is in somehow compromising the legacy of our ancestors. And I think that as a black man, I sit and I get it on both sides. Mm-hmm. I get black people who tell me you should never say because you ain't black. You should never stand up for this issue because you ain't black. Even on my Instagram, you know, stay in your place, Mexican, stay in your place, white man. You know, and I look at it from the place of being proud to be black and what the diversity within our own culture looks like, and having to fight on both sides to defend my blackness, even in this conversation, where in saying that I think a person's unattractive, literally just a perception of I don't think the person's attractive, has been woven into a whole conversation around how black girls are told they're not prettier than light-skinned girls because of their features, when it's completely separate. And I think the sad part that we do, especially people that have microphones and have platforms, is not be very clear without personalizing it for people online who are watching, because they're looking for people to give an answer.
Okay, well, let me just say something real quick. that's why I was trying to educate you, because you didn't understand where the hurt came from when Evelyn said those words to her. So that's why I clearly said to you, I know to you it's just a blanket statement of she's not ugly, but dark-skinned young girls have
I said she is ugly.
Okay, no, excuse me. That when you said she is ugly, but what I'm saying to you is that's hurtful to hear, because so many black girls have been told because of whatever reason they're not pretty.
But I've been told I'm fat, and when somebody look at me and say you're fat, I don't go, wow, I got abs. No, I go, I'm overweight. Who gives a
okay?
Who cares? It is what the it is. Tell the truth and shame the devil.
No, but hold on real quick. Life is different for men and women, okay? So let's
see, now we're breaking it. We
but
can't.
It is though. We can bring it up. But hold on. But I'm going back to the dilution.
All the women calling me fat, go to hell. Okay. And if you ugly, go to hell twice.
Well, listen, okay, I want to break down the dilution part, because I do know that people have been upset about that. The reason I said that when I had my post about Evelyn, because Evelyn is now claiming she's Afro-Latino, which means her ancestors come from African descent. So when I look at Evelyn, I see a Puerto Rican woman. I don't see an African woman. I see a Puerto Rican woman. It is what it is. So for me, like I said earlier, if you come from African descent, but you don't really appear to be African, it's because your bloodline has been mixed with other races. So now you have the long hair. Now you have the fair skin.
You got long hair.
I bought this. But now you're looking at a woman that you telling me you came from, and she's not, and she's ugly. So you guys, so I'm like, well, hold up, girlfriend. If your bloodline wasn't mixed with all the things it was mixed with, you could damn near look just like her. So that's why I brought up dilution, because whether we want to accept it or not, we have been mixed with other bloodlines, and it comes out in our appearances. And the fact of the matter is, we are treated in this country by the way that we look. We don't want to say it, but it's a fact. Now, one thing I want to move on, because I feel like we spent so much time on this. I want to talk about the Chad Okosinko, because I know you said in your post that OG is using this situation.
She weaponized. I said that I'm surprised at how many women have been baited into, because the conversation between them online with the fans is, because I think we're very emotional about the topic of colorism, which it's a real issue. But I think the real issue was that people online said that that Evelyn called OG a monkey. So this weekend on our show, we interviewed Evelyn. We've invited OG on the show. We've interviewed Evelyn, and she responds to that on the show. She said that Evelyn posted an Instagram post and using the GIF or the emoji of a monkey laughing, a laughing monkey, was calling her a monkey. So she took that and she said she called her a monkey. And I was doing all the research trying to find where this girl called the girl a monkey and couldn't find it. So the conversation, now people online believe that she called her the monkey.
Okay, so where my situation is, like I said, I saw Evelyn call her ugly. Once, and OG, I said this on the last episode too. She brought up Chad when you called me ugly, because she wanted her to know, like, you calling me ugly, but baby girl, while you was looking for your wedding dress, the man you was about to marry was hitting me up.
Oh, yeah, you set that up. Sorry. Yeah, so she was weaponizing. She was using Chad as a weapon.
No, but she wasn't, though.
This is my opinion. And I own that.
But she clearly stated that's not right, though. She
used Chad as a conversation piece to fight with Evelyn, knowing that Chad had beat her. I don't care how you dice it down. If somebody did that with Rihanna and Chris Brown, and somebody brought up, well, you didn't say that when you was with Rihanna. Is that what you said when you was with Rihanna? Whatever. People would say you're weaponized domestic violence. I was surprised that so many women didn't really look at that and go, well, damn, she's using domestic violence as a way, or this person.
She's definitely not, and I don't, hold on real quick. She's definitely not, and I don't like that narrative that you're putting out there. So let me explain why she's not. First, you're too personally invested. I'm not. No, but hold on. We really have to be. If we're gonna have this
I don't live these. I don't even watch the show the way
you're saying. But listen, Jason, hold on real quick. When you talk, I listen. Jason, when you talk, we listen. And one thing that you said earlier.
I don't think you listen. I think you hear me.
Look, you keep cutting me off.
Okay, go ahead. I don't think you're listening.
I am listening. I'm hearing everything wrong. I'm about to go back to something that you said. And one thing you said earlier is we have platforms. So when we speak, people are listening. You made an Instagram post and you put that narrative out there. So you need to be educated on what you're saying. Because like you just said, because I am listening to you, we have important voices. So let me correct you and tell you why that narrative of her weaponizing with Chad is not true. First things first, domestic violence is wrong. Let's get that out there. But putting your hands on anybody is wrong. Evelyn has been on the show time and time again using physical offense.
You're even two different things.
No, I'm not. How is it different?
This is not
How is it
this is not a
different?
good use of our time.
No, it is a good use of our time. No, Jason,
It
we
really
have to
isn't
dive
because-
into this.
No, because
No, but hear me out. No,
because you're so invested in this.
Of course I'm invested
personally,
in it.
No, that you're not. You're mixing apples and oranges. Earlier you mixed me saying
No,
that
you're
OG
not.
was unattractive with race.
I asked
Then
you why
now
she
you're
wasn't
mixing
raised.
domestic violence with two girls who both signed up for a reality show that's based on conflict and combat.
But listen,
Two
but
different
hold on real
things.
quick. Okay, so let's. No, it's not. But hold on real quick.
Okay.
Evelyn clearly said on the show. First things first. How about this? If a woman said to me that
I really don't know where this conversation is going.
No,
on.
Jason, don't be like that.
I really feel
No,
like
so why
I
you
was
get-
on the
no,
issue.
I'm trying to get.
I feel like you've mixed them all in
No,
a bucket.
okay, well,
you're
well,
stirring
let's-
that bucket and you're
well,
looking
no,
for something.
I'm not doing that. I'm going to give you a
I
clear
think you
example.
are.
Okay, so how about this? I'm going to give you a clear example because you brought up the domestic violence.
Please clarify what the points that you just made.
Okay,
around
let me talk,
domes-
Jason. I'm doing that with you.
But hold on, I cannot participate in a
Oh, my
conversation
God. You sound-
that is mixing apples and oranges.
Okay,
Let's
that's
slow
okay.
it down for people.
I'm trying to do that. So I'm going to give you
domestic violence.
Domestic violence. I'm going to give you this example of domestic violence. Evelyn, if I'm Evelyn and you're OG and you say to me, well, that's why Chad was in my DMs. If I'm a person traumatized by what that man did to me, my response is going to be to you, baby girl, he also hits women. So I don't give a fuck what he was doing in your DMs. And that would be the end of it. I would not then go text the man that I'm traumatized by, of course, because I'm traumatized by him, and say, I just want you to know that I'm in Costa Rica right now, and this girl here mentioned and said you used to be in her DMs, because I'm traumatized by this man because he headbutted me before years ago, right? And then on Basketball Wives, saying that same thing. Me and Chad, we're cool, okay? So you said that you're cool. So now Chad sends you these DMs that he's deleted his response, and then you go to the moment. Now, Shawty already said OG can't come around some more because she too aggressive, right? But now all of a sudden, Evelyn's like, well, I want to talk to OG. Shawty's fine with that, so OG can't come around when she want to come around, but if y'all want to roll up on her, that's fair. Which is wrong. So Evelyn rolls up on OG and has all this stuff with Chad. So I'm just trying to understand, if you are so traumatized by the person that headbutted you, why are you texting him and telling him what a girl said about him? You should even be communicated if you're so traumatized. You cannot pull out your hat every time you want to about what happened with women in domestic violence. That is not fair. Do you not agree with that?
Hollywood Unlocked in my show is not about. We're not Dr. Phil. I don't break down the psychotrauma.
But you have.
Let me give you my answer.
You're
I
right.
don't have to do.
You're right. You're right.
I ain't gotta do.
Hey, go ahead. Go ahead.
Stop telling me what I got to do.
You're right.
I got to tell you what I think.
Go ahead.
And that's what my show's about. My show ain't about giving a what nobody thinks. I say what I think. And with people, this is why it's so successful, because I say what I think and then I leave it on the floor. I don't really care what these people are doing in Costa Rica. I didn't even know they was in Costa Rica. I didn't even watch the show that detailed to see that they were in Costa Rica. I watched the highlights of what I'm talking about because I'm not invested in these people's lives. But let me say this. I don't know the psychotrauma caused by domestic violence because I've never been a violent abuser and I've never been a victim of domestic violence. What I have had sisters who've been beaten by men. And what I know is that there are a significant amount of women who die at the hands of violent men.
Yes.
And what I do know is that domestic violence is a very serious thing. And so when I look at people online, because I'm in reality TV, so I get how reality TV works. It is produced in a way that we're like to get people like us to talk about it, which, by the way, I don't talk about stuff like this much because I'm not really that invested. But what I am invested in is clarifying this point. I believe that OG bringing up Chad, Ocho Cinco, was because he knew how sensitive of a subject it is. When you are in those...
She knew how sensitive... Don't call her he. You said he knew how sensitive of a subject.
Oh, I meant she knew
Yes.
how sensitive of a subject. Bring up him, he would be.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, but that was my point. So, in bringing him up, you know you're going to get a reaction. Those fights on reality shows are all about how you can hurt the person the worst.
Right.
It really is. I mean, whenever I've thrown shade or I've said something, you are really trying to, because you know that scene's only going to be a few minutes, so you're really trying to get your biggest, hardest daggers out first. She knew using that. She had to know. So in using that, whether it's to prove that her man wanted her, let's go the other side. Why you communicating with a married man? Why are you all up in this married man's DMs? Why, if you're a woman of color, you see another woman of color somebody, that's her. Why are you trying to get it? Why? Wait.
Okay.
Why? You didn't know 5 years later you were going to have it as a tool to win an argument. You weren't worried about that. You were just worried about trying to entertain this man who clearly showed you he didn't care about another woman of color. So there's that. But
okay, that is wrong. But let's not forget, Evelyn slept with Tammy's husband when Tammy was married to him. So that's not wrong. It's called karma, okay?
But I will say that I felt using domestic violence as a way of winning an argument on a reality show was tacky. It was tacky. Now, if you say about, because I know people do say what you said about Evelyn fighting this person or being a bully, that may all be true. Evelyn is great TV, and I love when Evelyn gets in fights with people. I love when she fights with Jackie. I love when she fights with Tammy. I love when she fights with all of them, because that's why we tune into the show. If they all stopped fighting, if she came into the show being how she was on OWN, sitting there trying to fix her life, we would all turn the channel, because that's not why you turn to Basketball Wives.
Can I just say one thing? Okay,
yeah,
so
but
okay.
the two are different issues.
Okay, so I know women who have been truly traumatized by domestic violence. They don't talk to that ever again in life. They're not texting him while they're in Costa Rica telling him what another girl said about him because they're so traumatized. So it's hard for me to be sympathetic when Evelyn says that she was traumatized by Chad, when she also says on the same show, me and Chad are cool, and that's why I'm able to text him. So it got to be...
She talks about that on the show this weekend. You can see it on our show. She answers why, how her and Chad have been able to move past that. But you know, there are some people who decide to, move on and never talk to the person again. I interviewed Ryan Henry, who's here from Chicago and Black Ink, on my show. He talked about his sister being a victim of domestic violence, how he showed up on her birthday, killed her and her child.
Yeah, I know.
Sometimes it just ends in a way where you don't have the option to keep that relationship, right? And some people like me, when I break up with somebody, regardless of how we break up, I choose to forgive and still keep some type of a relationship with. I can't say, me personally, that if I was in a domestic violent relationship, that I would never ever want to have contact with the person again. I don't know that. And there are a lot of people that still do keep contact.
And all I'm saying is that's just the component, because you said you were surprised that women weren't supporting her. But that was the reason why, because it's like you literally said on the show that you're cool, so it's hard for us to understand that you're traumatized by a person that you said you're cool with.
But the domestic violence isn't about whether or not she's traumatized. It's the fact that It's the fact that I think women should have a lot more empathy for other women who go through domestic violence, and regardless of how they choose to maintain their relationship with the person or not, you should still have respect for not weaponizing domestic violence.
Okay,
that's like saying if you're okay with a Spanish person saying, which I am, because some people in Spanish communities grew up with black people and that's the culture, but some people would say, I don't think Spanish people should use the word.
Yeah, I think that, well, first of all, I grew up on the East Coast, and I am around Spanish people that use the word N-word. It didn't offend me, but I have a lot of black friends who do not like that. And I can't, and they're not wrong for feeling that way. Because I will say this, if there's a derogatory word for Spanish people that begins with an S, I would never go up to them and say that, because they will feel disrespected. So I have to understand when black people say, I don't like when Hispanic people use the N-word, because we know we didn't get reparations, but we took the goddamn word. So it's not comfortable on my skin when I hear a person of that descent say that. And I have to respect that.
But my point in bringing that up was that there are subjects like those where people have different perspectives of what's right or what's wrong. Just like some people would look at her weaponizing it and say it's right or wrong. Just like some people would say me saying she's attractive or not is wrong. Everybody has different perspectives based on where they come from. And it doesn't mean that anyone is right or wrong. It just means that we have different points of view.
One thing, we're going to move on because I got to get to the colorism point. But one thing I will just say about this when it comes to Evelyn, keep your goddamn hands to yourself. Because as a woman who was hit, period, you have to know that putting your hands on anyone is not correct and it is not right. And if you want more sympathy from women to understand what you went through, and we still see you on television always trying to attack people, it's hard for us to be on your side. And that is the reason why it's so difficult for people to be sympathetic for what she went through. But I want to talk about...
Let me say this. My conversation here is less about... I don't really give a about Evelyn and OG personally and what they personally go through, because I'm not that invested. And so if I want to tell Evelyn anything, I'll text her. But what I will say to women in general, and you, is that we tune in to these shows to watch the craziness that goes down. The reason why Love and Hip Hop is the #1 reality show on TV, the reason why we watch Love and that show, Black Geek, because you love conflict. If Evelyn stopped fighting with people, if Jackie stopped fighting with people, if OG stopped, OG is great television. If they all stopped,
Right.
we would tune out.
Well, okay, now I'm happy you brought that up because it goes on to the part of the fight. So we have seen Evelyn time and time again get physical on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So now last episode, why so many people were in an uproar is because Shaunie has now banned OG from the circle. So we're like, OG has never laid her hands on anybody. She has clearly stated, and Evelyn has said this too, I will kill you, I'll you up, you son. Like, she's, what her words lay down the law of, try me if you want to, your outcome is not going to be what you desire. Mm-hmm. but never has done anything physically. When we see Evelyn, even on this episode, running after a girl to try to harm her, not get banned, we like, hold up, that's not fair. How is it that the woman who ain't never put her hands on nobody all of a sudden now can't be in the group of people who are known for being aggressive? And you want to say that it's not about because she's the darkest person on the show, but then help me understand why she has been ostracized and can no longer be around the group when she's never been physical, and Evelyn, who has been physical time and time again, can still be around everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get Shaunie's check to defend her decisions as a producer, so I'm not going to own that. What I will say is, being somebody who is on VH1 and Viacom, that, you know, there is a mandate this year coming down from the top at Viacom to be less violent, quote, physical violent on the shows. Love and Hip Hop has gotten that. If you watch it, it's less violent than it used to be.
Right.
I will say, Evelyn has threatened, I think, to kill somebody on the show. OG's threatened to kill somebody on the show.
Yes.
I don't have an answer for that because I think it's bull.
Okay.
I think that
we can agree on that.
I think that if one thing that's good, let me tell you something. If one thing is good for one cast member, she be good for everybody.
Exactly.
I never understood why Brandy Maxill was fired from the show, or she was threatened to be fired from the show because she disagreed with Shaunie. Shaunie's the EP, but you're also in the show. So if Mona Scott Young was in Love and Hip Hop and she wrote up and I'm like,
right,
I shouldn't be threatened to be fired because of you in the show. So I've had my own opinions about how this show is produced. I would say, but I will also say on the other side, and this is not to discount that, let me put a period there, because I do agree, like, you know, what's good for one should be good for everybody. I think OG's great TV. I think she's what the show needs. I think she's giving everybody a run for their money, and it has everybody going crazy. So she's great. But I will say, being in a reality show, if I was on Love and Hip Hop, I'm on Love and Hip Hop. If I'm in the scene in Love and Hip Hop, and Ray J walked in and said, I'm going to kill you, whether you film it or you don't film it, that you will hear me say, I'm no longer filming with this person. This person's not.
But listen. Okay.
This person should not be allowed to film with us. That would be me. Now, if it was a white Mickey Monday who's on the show, he's white. If Mickey said, because I know Mickey's from the streets, he really is in the streets. We know the same people. Mickey says, yo, when I see you, I'm going to kill you. I would say to them, I don't feel safe filming with this person.
Now, let me say that. Now, Jason, would you say that if you had said in the past yourself, now you could use that example, if you in the past have been seen jumping on people, fighting on people, you saying to them, I'm going to kill you, and then literally try it, do you think you have the right to say that when you should be kicked off the show then? Because
I think anybody that feels unsafe in reality TV because of how it goes down. Remember Jenny Jones, there was a guy who showed up and killed the man.
Right, but Jason, here's the point I'm trying to make. What you're saying you won't film with, you done yourself. So we're going to respect the honor of saying you're going to kill someone, then that means your ass should not be on the show because you said it prior and you got physical prior. So that's the point of why there's like a big uproar right now, because like you also said, the treatment is not fair. And at the end of the day, if Shaunie's going to ban OG, then you got to say, Evelyn, girl, you said I'm a killer and you tried. I can't be on the show no more.
The issue is that people feel like Evelyn has been a bully.
Yeah, she has been, though.
First of all, can I just say, I'm surprised we're spending this entire... I didn't fly to Chicago to talk about all this.
But you knew we were going to talk about it, though.
Well, no, I didn't know we were going to spend a whole hour. We're spending a whole hour talking about these people.
No, but Jason,
when I need to promote my show.
You and I met yesterday, and we knew we were going to talk about it.
But not a whole hour, but I thought we had to talk about
You and I even said
let's talk about R. Kelly. Let's talk about that matters in Chicago. I don't know why we're spending a whole hour talking about these girls, but whatever, I'm going to entertain it. I hope the final product isn't a whole hour talking about these two, because we have more important things to talk about. I think that anybody who feels unsafe in reality TV has a right at any time to bring up the issue of safety. I don't think that VH1, Viacom, I don't think that Shaunie or any producer producing these type of combative shows should be disparate in how they apply the rules. I think that what people like right now, what people are calling out, is that Evelyn has been perceived to be a bully for a long time, and she's getting a dose of her own medicine, and apparently what it looks like can't handle it. And that's why I think OG's needed for the show, because she brings a balance. But I do feel, being somebody that's in reality TV, I've had these conversations with production. I've had these conversations with producers, because there are times, and I'm not saying that this is OG, but if it applies, take it that way. In times when you're in shows like you have a Ray J and K Michelle who are very successful outside the show
Right.
and doing their thing, you mix them in a show with people who are less successful and have nothing to lose. People who are literally living in motels filming these reality shows, they have nothing to lose and everything to gain to get in a fight with the star. You do have that dynamic that does produce for good TV, but it also becomes very reckless and sometimes unsafe. I think that people should be able to say when they feel unsafe.
Okay.
If I have a person tell me they're going to kill me,
guess,
you probably won't see them in the face with me anymore.
And I guess I'm actually agreeing with that, but I guess what I'm saying is Jennifer felt unsafe, Cece felt unsafe, but Shawnee didn't protect them. She didn't have this rule that she put in place for OG because of Evelyn. She allowed Evelyn to be in situations where women were unsafe and still film with them, and that's why we were pissed off. But I think we cover all the angles in that area. So you are here. I'm gonna allow you to talk about what you want to talk about.
Well, I came here to produce my show on iHeart.
We talked about that though.
There was a mention. I think there's a lot of black people listening to this conversation. A lot of people of color, women who are starting their brands, and men who are starting their brands, and want to know how we went from a podcast to a nationally syndicated show in 52 markets and still growing. I think.
How did you go from just doing a simple vlog or blog, I assume, to now being heard across the country, nationwide on iHeartMedia? What was the process for you?
I think people are interested in understanding how we're able to, break some of the stories that we break and still maintain a lot of relationships that we have. People don't necessarily all like me, but then I learned from Floyd Mayweather a long time ago that the bad guy always wins, because I'm going to create a conversation. Whether people agree or don't agree, I don't really care, because I'm not put on this earth to make sure everybody agrees with me. That's not my thing. But anyway, they could just check out the show. I'm sure you guys will tell them where they can find it.
Well, we said in the beginning that you're one thing we said in the beginning that you have Hollywood Unlocked. It's on our show. 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. on Sunday mornings. We say you're part of the WGCI family. So I don't want to put, in the beginning of the interview, we definitely started with that. And I do agree that we disagree a lot.
I think as being a young black gay man in this country who's been able to achieve the success I have, who started a business from scratch, who basically you leveraged the hell out of everything to get here and be a black employer and employ 90% of my staff being black is a great thing. I think spending an hour on what we just spent wasn't the best use of both of our time. I don't think people got anything from our conversation. I don't think they did. But this is the first interview I've ever had where I think we've spent this kind of energy on, my point of view on an issue versus an opportunity to educate, because I do feel like what we just did was we just added to the dissension between our culture. And I think it's such a sensitive subject, all the way back from House Field days. And I just feel like we went all the way back there. But nonetheless, the show is on the weekend. Hopefully we become a daily show soon. And we have a very successful YouTube. You can go and watch all our episodes. We've interviewed a lot of great people.
Yeah, I think you're awesome at what you do. I disagree with how this hour was spent, only because I feel as though this is a very emotional thing, and I feel like the reason why we have so much separation within our race is because we don't dive in and listen to why a person is so upset. And although we didn't agree on a lot of different points, I hope I heard what you had to say.
I don't think we listened either.
I was listening to what you were saying. I was reciting the things back to you.
Well, I think you heard me. I think it's important.
Did you listen to me? Did you hear me, though? Because I felt like...
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you. I hear your experiences. I went through your page. I know you've had the HBCU experience. I know that you're proud to be black, and I'm proud to be black. But this is not a competition about who's more proud to be black and who's right or wrong on black issues.
I don't think that it is.
Well, I think it was. But I think what's important is that black people have to understand that although we also come in many shades, shapes, sizes, and experiences... Mm-hmm. We bring those experiences to the table through very different lenses. And because you've had an experience that maybe I have not had, or maybe some of my siblings have had, I've always been very empathetic to those experiences. But I also make sure to not lump them in everything, because everything doesn't add up to that experience.
I agree with that.
I can look at somebody walking down the street. I can see a really beautiful black, dark-skinned man or really beautiful, light-skinned man, and look at them and say, I find them attractive or unattractive. But in my mind, it doesn't have to be because they're light or dark skin. Everything ain't about being light or dark skin. What's happened is that online, these two have been caught up in a whirlwind of postings, emojis, this and that people have been able to say, this is colorism, this is racism. And I'd like to think that I'm actually a pretty good judge of character when it comes to that, because I've experienced it on both ends, and I just don't see it here.
Could you be wrong?
I think we could both be wrong.
Okay, but
I think everybody could be wrong.
Right, I mean,
but then it goes back to us all having our own opinion.
Exactly. So the point I'm trying to say is the way you saw it, because of your experience, you saw it from a different lens. The way I saw it, because of my experience, I saw it from a different lens. So when I'm saying from my lens, I'm right. From your lens, you're right. And that's so I think at the end of the day, we have to just be, if we want to be all together, we have to understand why our people may see things differently than the other. And maybe the word is not right or wrong, just hear me out. This is why when you said that, it hurt me. This is why. So maybe coming at you, and it wasn't my idea to drag you. It wasn't.
My feelings aren't hurt.
No, but it's not. But what I'm saying is for the Evelyn part of it, because I feel like she's not even receiving how. If you want to be considered Afro-Latino and proud of your African descent, how when you looked at her and said that was ugly, why people felt the way that they took it that way.
Afro-Latinos could look at people and think that they're ugly. I think that anybody can look at anybody and think that they're ugly.
But you want to understand why the world was in an uproar. I was trying to explain to that.
But I know it's because OG has used race as an issue in this whole thing, where she said she talked about Evelyn wearing braids. She talked about Evelyn wearing braids. Okay, then here's this: every black woman out there, take off those blonde wigs. You do not have. That's not your hair.
Let me say
Hold on. Take off all them lace fronts. Be who the you really are. Stop being mad at a woman who's Spanish wearing braids, because guess what? Everybody wears braids. I don't give a who wears braids. I don't think about who wears braids, because at the end of the day, I'm too busy getting money. And the problem with everybody is we all looking at, she white, she can't have braids. Larsa Pippen wear braids, she's white, she can't have them. Larsa Pippen got 4 black kids by a black man, grew up in Chicago, lived in Miami. She hangs with the Kardashians, so because she hangs with the Kardashians, she's trying to use the black culture. She's a culture person. To me, it's just overwhelming.
I'll give you that. Hold on, real quick.
Whole conversation. When black women start telling women of other colors that they can't wear braids, then guess what? If they came out, a white woman came out right now, if Ellen Pompeo came out right now and said, look, I need all of you black girls to stop wearing wigs and lace fronts because that ain't your hair, what's going to happen? We're going to have an issue with that. And that's not fair.
Okay, so real quick, I'm going to just
have one conversation.
So real quick, white women wear wigs and extensions too.
Absolutely.
So let's just not put that all on black women. But on another thing too, I wouldn't call Evelyn a racist. I would think that she's a Puerto Rican woman that may feel as though she's better than some black women, but I wouldn't call her a racist. And I think when OG called her a racist, Evelyn uses the N-word. So that's why we had that conversation earlier about who can use the N-word and people not be offended. Now, you and I both agree that we have Puerto Rican friends that doesn't offend us, but we also noted there are black people that if they hear a Spanish person using the N-word, it rubs them the wrong way. So that, to me, was more of the conversation of when Evelyn's a racist. I don't think she's a racist because of her hairstyle. I don't personally think she's a racist, period.
When you say Evelyn thinks she's better than other black women, why can't we just say Evelyn thinks she's better than other women? Why do we have to put black as an identifier in there? Because that's what stirs the pot. Narcissism doesn't have a color. Narcissism doesn't have a race. I may think I'm better than Ryan Seacrest. It ain't because he's white. It's because I think I'm more transparent than he is, but we're different people.
Can I answer that?
Hold on. Yeah, absolutely, because I don't see where race...
The reason why I said black is because she was on a national television platform calling a black woman ugly. So
but she didn't say, I think I'm better than you because I'm black. You're projecting that stereotype, and that's how
but I just said that was my perception. I didn't think she was a racist. I said I don't think Evelyn's a racist. I think that she feels as though she's like prettier. You know, I'm prettier than OG. Even you said she's better looking than OG.
She is prettier than OG.
She's definitely not prettier than OG to me. They're both beautiful.
But it isn't because that's not true.
It's
true. She's not prettier than OG though because she's Puerto Rican or because she's light skinned or because she has long pretty hair or whatever. Because I think all hair is good hair as long as it's healthy hair. I'm not saying, and actually Floyd Mayweather...
You said because her face is softer than OG.
No, I'm not even saying that because her face is softer. I just look at her and think she's prettier. I don't look at OG and say she's pretty. But
And that's sad to me.
No,
though.
I know, but that's not
sad
because
to me,
she's
though.
black.
But
it's not because she's Nigerian.
Right,
But wait, people tell me all day, you're fat, you're this, you that. Do I have the time to sit in my feelings about what the they think? No, it is what it is. If that's what you think, maybe that's true. Who gives a I'm off to making money.
I got you.
So,
Listen,
I don't know. There's
go
some people that are just more invested in this than I am. I'm not that invested.
Well, but real quick, you have a lot to say about the conversation, so you are kind of
I'm gonna have a lot to say after this interview.
you definitely were invested, because there's times when I sat here and be quiet, and then you went on and listened. So don't act like you didn't have a lot to say. You had a lot to say. So you are invested.
Well, yeah, I came into an interview that was
and then
trying to bait me into a conversation about saying that I think that OG's ugly because she's African or black. I didn't ask. She has a hard face.
I clearly just, okay, you came with a hard face, but I was clearly asking you what made her ugly. Like I said 1,000 times, to me, I can't look at anyone like OG and call it ugly, because to me, I see my ancestors. So that's my lens.
Okay.
So that's my lens.
Okay,
period.
but if you see her and you see your ancestors, and therefore you bring up your issues with your experience being a darker skinned woman, I think then you're too involved in the topic to have a public opinion
Definitely
as a person.
Definitely not.
Wait, as a person.
I'm necessary for the conversation because
no, you're
my
very
experience.
necessary.
I'm necessary because of my platform.
You're very necessary, but you're also adding to the problem by stirring
I'm not
the pot
adding to the problem.
and
I'm
race
speaking,
baiting. You have
I'm not race baiting. I'm giving a perspective from the women who felt
well, this
the same
was a
way
great
as me.
interview. Thank you so much for having me up here. Check out my show.
Bye, Jason.
Thank you. I'm out. Bye.